Hey guys, this is Molly, and just in case this video ends up on my YouTube later, I want to go ahead and introduce what I'm doing. I've just gone live in one of my Facebook groups. I put a post up there and I said if anybody responds, I will go live and do a Q&A. And I listed a couple different topics, so I don't know, let's see who shows up. I'm going to adjust my brightness because I've got crazy glare. And then I realized that I went live without a pen and paper. So I'm going to try to grab that. Hi, hello. I don't know who's here. It never tells me. But my name is Molly. I'm just going to grab a pen and paper real quick because I don't know who will show up or what questions, what notes I might want to jot down. And then sometimes scribbling helps me channel. So I'll be right back. All right, so I've never done a live Q&A. I have done live readings in the past, and then I have a YouTube channel. So I don't mind being on the screen, of course, but yeah, I'm here to answer questions or just to say hi and to chat. I love this group. I love the things that I learn here. But yeah, I'm a psychic medium. I have been studying tarot and astrology for like 20 years. I learn a lot in this group. Astro Witches, I got a little heart. I learn a lot in this group from you guys, and I feel like I have a lot of knowledge that I can also share. So I just kind of wanted to open this up. So when you leave a comment, it takes like a minute for it to show up on my screen, but I'm glad to be here with you guys. Does anybody have any particular experience of this Mercury retrograde yet? Oh my God, you guys. These planets have been crazy lately. Hello, hello, hello. My name is Molly. I'm just here to answer some questions. We can talk about astrology if you want. So Mercury goes retrograde, what is it, like 3 to 4 times a year? And if you're a Mercury dominant like me, then it will definitely affect you like 3 to 4 times a year. So my moon is in Gemini, which is Mercury ruled, and then I have a bunch of Virgo in my chart, and a bunch of 6th house placements. All right, so everything's Mercury ruled, and yeah, this one's in Cancer, ton of Cancer energy going on, which has to do with the mother, which has to do with home. And then, of course, what I think is really interesting is that this Cancer is part of a blue moon cycle. So while there's not going to be 2 moons within one calendar month, there are going to be 2 moons in the same sign consecutively. So the next new moon that we have will also be in Cancer. This one is on the cusp of Gemini and actually conjunct my natal Venus. So hopefully somebody will fall in love with me today or something. Hello, Lillian. I'm glad you asked. Thank you so much for just being the first person to ask a question. Let's see. I don't know how much, I don't mind answering questions about it. I was in a really terrible car accident. I was 17 years old. I was conscious through the experience, and it took a couple hours for them to rescue us. But I was actually life flighted from the crash site to a hospital, to the ER. And when I was there, my heart stopped. And I'd say, oh, wow. Awesome. Sorry, I was responding to Quinn. I'd say I was probably gone for literally like less than 5 minutes. My experience of the whole day was I had no memory for like 15 years. Like I was in the passenger seat of a car that was hit on the highway by a flatbed truck. So it was we were very, 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 both my friend who was driving and I lived, the truck driver lived. So it was honestly just kind of miraculous that at the time that the accident happened, there just happened to be a life flight helicopter in the airspace above us. There was an ambulance about a quarter mile behind us on the highway. And this was about 2:30 in the afternoon. It was a Saturday. actually I think it was a Friday. And so a lot of people were getting off work and like going to the lake and stuff like that. This was in North Kansas City. And so there was this horrible collision. It took them, I think, 2.5 hours to get us out of the car. And then I had no memory for like 15 years. This happened when I was 17. So memory started to come back of, first of all, the crash experience. And then the one that was just like the biggest for me to wrap my mind around was getting back the memory of my own resuscitation and like what that part of my day was like, because I'd been told that that happened to me. I'd been told that I lost, you know, my heart stopped and they had to restart it. But I was just kind of like, well, that's neat. But I didn't really have any actual memory of it. So the experience itself, I had been in shock for several hours. I was conscious while they were rescuing me from the car. So, and I was very combative. Like I don't sedate very easily. So the medics showed up and they were trying to take care of me and I was like fighting them. And so there was just a tremendous amount of chaos. And then just this moment where that was gone. And I was present. I was definitely still present in the room, but I definitely was no longer in my body. And everything just seemed very, very calm. And it's almost like I was aware of this change in the activities and behaviors of the ER staff. Like I could tell they were just like, okay, we know what to do now. And they got to work. And then I didn't really realize that I was gone, I guess. I was not in my body until the moment that I was shocked back into it. So I was defibrillated. And yeah, so there's my near-death experience. And I was, like I said, I was 17. I couldn't really articulate the way it changed me at that time. But now that I'm a lot further down my path of my karmic experience, just coming to understand my own personal karmic cycles, my past lives, and then studying the astrology of that day has been really tremendous in helping me to form a theory about why that happened to me and why I did not die that day. So if anybody's interested in hearing about karmic theories, I will also talk about that. So thanks for asking, Lillian. And to kind of anticipate a question, I don't think my psychic abilities necessarily came from that day or came from that experience. Oh, wow. Oh, Quinn, thank you for sharing. I think that I was, you know, talking to spirits and stuff when I was a kid. But this definitely set me on a very, very different life path. Preemie twins. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Quinn, I am in a group. A couple years ago, I joined a group called Sudden Cardiac Arrest Survivors. And so for years and years and years, I celebrated this thing called my rebirth day. And today is my 23rd rebirth day. And then I joined up this group a couple years ago and I realized I'm not the only one who made that up. There's this entire community of people who celebrate having survived a sudden cardiac arrest. So I'm just so I'm sending a lot of blessings to you and your babies. And I'm lighting some Palo Santo. So the astrology part of it, you guys, I got to tell you, I've been studying astrology. They have an amazing chart. Yeah, dude, I would definitely, and by the way, I call everybody dude. I would love to see that chart actually. How far apart were they born? The astrology of my near-death experience was really, really interesting, and it took me a while to unpack because I've been studying since, I think I really first got into it when I was about 18, when I was pregnant with my son. for the longest time, I was looking at that 2 minutes and wow, interesting. Okay, I'd love to see that, Quinn. For the longest time, I was like, I would go back to that day, June 20th, 1997, and go to location and the time and try to figure out what was happening in my chart that would make me understand why I went through that kind of experience, and also why I almost feel like my entire life after my near-death experiences, it's almost like a completely different path. Wow. So how does that happen, like karmically speaking, and how can you go look at your chart? Because to me, that's what the natal chart is. It's a almost like a blueprint of your karmic path through this lifetime, the kind of challenges that you'll be presented with. So, for years, I was trying to figure it out, and I was looking at all my major planets. I was looking at all the different aspects, but I really did not understand the importance of asteroids. So actually, pretty recently, I looked at the chart again of that day and that event, and I realized, I can't think of the name of it now. I think it starts with a D and it has like way too many vowels in it, but it's a planet that has to do with complete and total transformation, like an absolute destruction, like just wipe one thing out and start completely fresh again. That asteroid was conjunct my Pluto at the time. Actually, it was conjunct Pluto in the sky. So what that says to me, you know, I haven't looked at fixed stars yet, but I bet the fixed stars are probably also very, very telling. So this asteroid that was conjunct Pluto in the sky on that day was just because Pluto's all about transformation to me. I mean, that's just what it's about. But specifically, like, really dramatic inner transformation. So I'm not surprised that that asteroid played a part. Its conjunction with Pluto played a part in literally ending one chapter of my life and beginning a second one. And then the other one that was going on was, I think it's called Varuna. Varuna was conjunct Saturn, and Varuna is all about consequences. Saturn is about restrictions and limitations, like it's going to put the rules in place, but Varuna is going to come in and like smack you off your throne when you decide that you're going to defy those limitations. So if you guys are interested in it, through a series of readings that I had done for myself, you know, like I'm a reader, but I go to other readers. So I went through a series of readings that kind of gave me clues to this overall significance of my near-death experience. And then the searching that I did with the asteroids, I've just had some like really one-on-one conversations with my guides. And then I've also done some past life regressions, and I do those through guided meditation. So the explanation that I have for why I had that near-death experience, like my life that I was born to 40 years ago. Yeah, I just turned 40. That life was meant to end at age 17. Like I ran my course. I did my path. Everything that that person was meant to do in that lifetime was accomplished. And June 20th, 1997 was the end of that life. The new life that began is a life that it's time that I owed because I took my own life in a past life. So that is where Varuna comes in. That was a consequence. Like I had work that I was supposed to do, and I actually that particular past life where I ended myself, I've like my biggest healing still needs to be done surrounding that past life. And it kind of makes sense that I brought that into this life to work on, because I kind of bailed out early the last time. So, and that's a lifetime that was a long time ago. Okay. Like I want to say, around the 1st century. I was a Celtic high priestess, and I entered into an alliance with an outsider that was meant to benefit my tribe, and it led to its destruction. And so I never got over that. I never got over that. And here I am in this lifetime, actually, still kind of working through some of that stuff. But that's part of what I like to do as a reader, is help people understand, because trust me, I cannot imagine any other greater trauma. I know that there probably are, but for me personally, no greater trauma than having to relive those memories of having lost my life. Like, I've struggled through PTSD and had to face that down, gone through lots of therapy, lots of body healing, which is important. Your body remembers. So you have to make sure that you let your body heal, right? But I've gone through all of this, and what I find is once you've done all the healing that you need to do in this life, Spirit's going to bring you stuff from your past lives to work on. But what's amazing is that you also have a lot of really tremendous powers, abilities, spiritual gifts, inheritances, blessings that you've earned in past lives that a lot of people, they just work on their karma in this life. They're like, okay, well, ever since I was young, I've been serving and helping people, and therefore this is what I think I deserve. But you have so many past lives where you didn't get to stick around for the blessings, or the blessings were not available to you, and those are still available. I truly believe. But as far as that ties in with this group, this Astro Witches group, is getting in touch with your past selves, actually, I believe, can help you bring powers back from past lives. So I had a past life in which I could communicate with animals, and that's something that I'm really trying to bring back into this life. I don't know what for, except for that it's kind of fun. All right. So somebody asks, thank you, Molly, for sharing. Would you tell us about what being a reader really is? I wonder if it has to do with the ascendant, Mercury, Moon, and Neptune, or if it has other roots. Ashley, thanks for being here, you guys. I could talk to a wall about this all day long, but my guides came in and were like, no, find somebody else to talk to. Fun fact, my natal Neptune is conjunct my ascendant. And then my natal Mercury is conjunct my moon. So let me tell you how I think that plays out in my particular chart, and then I'll talk to you about other charts that I've done. I actually did a reading of this. I have this new client, and they ordered a reading for him, a reading for his partner, a reading for their best friend, and then a reading for the daughter. And I got in to do the reading of the daughter, who's actually born a week before my son. And all I could say was, this daughter is psychic. And there's a lot of different ways that that's going to play out in your chart. So, I also want to say that for me, being a reader was something very intellectual for a long time. I studied tarot. I studied astrology. It was really only once I got to a certain point in my life fairly recently that I started channeling intuitively and becoming a medium. So let me talk about those different energies. How do I begin? Okay. My Neptune conjunct ascendant is just, I see the world through different lenses than a lot of people do, okay? So I kind of see what's magic in everybody, if that makes sense. That's what I think my Neptune conjunct ascendant is all about. Also, it's in Sagittarius, okay? So, yeah, you guys, thank you so much, Lillian. I'm super going to get to that. Okay, so there honestly, there are so many different ways that having psychic abilities or spiritual gifts can play out in your chart. There are so many different ways. But what I've learned about having your Mercury conjunct your moon, and what's interesting is that they are It's a loose conjunction. They're about 7 degrees apart, but my Mercury is in Taurus and my moon is in Gemini, right? So it's this crazy, powerful Mercury energy. But what that means to me is that somebody who has a Mercury conjunct moon may not know how psychic they are. They may not be able to differentiate the data that they're receiving through their logical, physical senses and the data that they're picking up on intuitively, right? So you walk into a room and you're like, oh, so-and-so's in a bad mood. And you may not be able to list the facts, right? But you know that you sense that. And to me, a Moon-Mercury conjunction means that those two ways of knowing kind of blend together so seamlessly that you don't even necessarily realize that you're empathic. Yeah. But I want to talk about the difference between your different bodies, okay? Because to me, Neptune has to do with your astral body, your emotional body, right? Like your psychic body. I don't know how else to describe that, but it's pretty much your astral body. It's something that you feel. Whereas Uranus is related to the mental body. So psychic senses that are stored in the mental body, right? So I definitely have some claircognizance. And then I have clairsentience. So claircognizance is when I just there's just a download. Facts are in my head. I know what the cards are trying to say to me, or I know what this personal planetary aspect is trying to say to me. Clairsentience is this completely different way of sensing things. And I say that I feel it with my emotional body instead of feeling it with my mental body. So I think everybody has the capacity, right, to be an empath, an intuitive, a psychic of some sort. And looking at your own particular chart can really help you to understand not only the way that that manifests, but also what area of your life are you being called to use that towards. All right. So my Mercury Moon conjunction is in my 6th house. So I'm meant to use that as a healer. That's just what that means to me. Also, if you take a peek at any aspects that, let's say I look at your chart and I'm like, okay, this, and this, these are the points that really explain to me what your spiritual gifts are. Now I can look at what the other planets are in relationship to that and see what are the personal challenges in your life that might keep that from being held back. Recently felt a heightening in claircognizance. It is almost unsettling. It is, because it's just like, why do I know this? This is just information in my head now. So Lillian asked, how did I first connect with my guides? What was it like meeting them for the first time? They were pushy. I'm going to be honest. I learned about the concept of spirit guides. Real quick backstory, you guys, after my near-death experience, I was an 18-year-old that was like, well, if I was going to die, I would have died, right? So I just kind of went on a crazy adventure through, psychedelics and things like that. And I actually ended up having my son. I gave birth to my son about 2 years after that near-death experience. So that's definitely part of my karmic cycle. And I raised him on my own. It was a wonderful, beautiful blessing. You attended your first Sabbath. Wow. Wow, Anita. Oh, beautiful. Okay, so let me go ahead and say, so I did a lot of spiritual exploration, expanding consciousness, stuff like that. Earlier on my path when I was younger, before I was a single mom, putting myself through school and all those things. So I definitely had this, same with chakras, which single most important thing that I've unlocked next to my relationship with my guides. There was just this concept, okay, sure, we've got guides, but I didn't really know how to experience that. I didn't know what it felt like. I kind of just talked to myself a lot anyways. That's what Gemini moons do. Any air moon talks to themselves a lot. And so there's actually this moment, last year when I just, like, I was really frustrated with my job and I left it, and I'd been doing a lot of tarot readings, and it was when I decided I wanted to start doing it professionally. I was actually reading for another friend who was a psychic, and I was like, yeah, I'm really trying to just tap in, and instead of reading it based on what I've studied about the tarot cards, I'm trying to tap into my guides. And my friend is like, that's crazy, because my friend's thing is she can see people's guides. She's like, I literally see your guides like on either side of you, talking to you right now. And I'm like, whoa, that's kind of cool to know that they're there. So I do the reading for my friend, and I pick up the very first card, and it's crazy because I can see the card to this day. It's the Hierophant. All right. And to me now, the Hierophant card actually represents your guides. To me, when I'm reading tarot, it represents guides, skills, tools, knowledge, spiritual gifts. All right. So I picked up that Hierophant and was like, literally just said in my mind, okay, what are you trying to say? At that moment, I had this, like, wait, Quinn, just wait. I had this giant glass, like, you know, that really thick, like, old school retro glass with, like, the little beads underneath it, and it's kind of green. I had this big 12-inch glass platter sitting on our coffee table, which was glass topped, and it was full of my crystals. And the moment I picked up that Hierophant card, out of nowhere, that glass platter broke. It just shattered in half. And it was just this tremendous explosion of energy. And I wish I could tell you how I got there because it was just after that, it was just on. It was just me and my guides. So to meet them for the first time was really just me acknowledging them for the first time, because it took a while once I started reading intuitively instead of just intellectually, like, oh, I know what the Empress means and I know what the Seven of Swords means. Now I'm channeling messages from my guides, and it took me a long time to wrap my mind around that. Like, where do they exist? Where are they coming from? And so I just really had to do a lot of meditation. Some people don't trust it, but I love guided meditations. I enjoy Unlock Your Life is a YouTube channel that I really like. And then what's another? Meditative Mind is really good for just different like frequencies to listen to and stuff like that. But yeah, poke around and find, like, if you're interested in connecting with your guides, I find that doing it through a guided meditation the first time can just kind of make it easier after that. But really, just the main thing to understand is your guides are not here to judge you, okay? Once you get to know them a little better, they'll call you out. They will call you out. And that's kind of why I'm glad that I have a relationship with them. But having the friend that I was reading for when I had this amazing like explosion of psychic energy, she does readings for people. It was actually a trade. I did this tarot reading for her, and then about a month later we got together and she did a reading for with my guides that actually helped me to learn their names, and she just did an amazing job channeling that. Since then, I am happy to say that I have been able to do that for others in my readings. So while I'm definitely not here to promote myself, if you guys are interested, I do have a website. I have a Facebook page. I can share it in the comments later when I'm done. But that I actually have a couple decks in the mail right now to help me do readings for past life regressions and also for connecting with your guides. So a lot of times when somebody comes to me for a reading, that's the first thing that happens is I'm like, so what's your relationship with your guides like? Because they've been talking to me for the last 20 minutes. And I will say I've become a much better reader by connecting with my guides, because that process has become so easy that now when I sit down and read, I ask to connect to the guides of the person that I'm reading with. I have a YouTube channel, and so I do collective readings there. And I typically just ask to... I call upon my guides and ancestors, etc., and then those of the collective. So, and it's crazy because it's like my guides know who that message is going to get to, even if I don't. Yeah. Quinn, yay, thank you. Okay, so on Facebook, I am Soul School, SOULSCHOOL. I hope I spelled that right. Tarot and Astrology. So 4 words, Soul School, Tarot and Astrology. And then that's also the name of my YouTube channel. So I'm working on a website and stuff like that. I used to be a public school teacher, you guys. I've done that for the last 3 years and I can't do it anymore. And it's not that I hate school or education or anything. It's just, it has become really overwhelming to be in environments where I'm surrounded by people who need things from me all the time. So I'm focusing on this, and I'm just really glad that I got to connect with you guys today. Yay, Ashley. So you're listening to your guides already. That is who told you to click on this. Yeah. So Lillian, I hope you got to hear that. I kind of feel one of the things is when I'm going live, it doesn't tell me how long I've been live. So if you guys have any other questions, let me know. But I kind of want to do a reading. So if you have a question that you want me to pull a card for, go ahead and pull that out, and then, or yeah, just post it. You guys, trying to switch back between my intuitive and my intellectual space is crazy. Mercury's retrograde now. So, by the way, if you or anybody else you know has that Moon-Mercury conjunction, this Mercury retrograde in Cancer is something they're definitely going to feel. Yeah. So if you guys have a question, like I said, it takes a minute for it to pop up here. But I have Oracle decks. I have Tarot decks. If anybody wants me to pull a card before you go. I'm really glad we got to connect today. Thank you for helping me celebrate my 23rd rebirthday. I did it. Yeah, I got all goofed up. Okay. Okay, Quinn, let me get a card for you. I'm going to read Lucy's post real quick. Okay, trying to learn more about astrology. Oh, yeah. Son, do you know what sign your Pluto is in? Pluto is up to some things right now, okay? Pluto is really, with this retrograde, he wants us to tear down anything that we have, any structures that we've been complicit in building that are actually keeping us from being our real selves, all right? So in other words, when we're growing up, we're handed these scripts, these narratives. Like the world tells us stories like, oh, you're not a very good dancer, or you should probably be quiet, or watch what you eat, right? And then after a while, we internalize that, and we don't realize that like that narrative, that script, it's like this brick wall that, oh girl, let's talk. Okay. It's like this brick wall that is, you know, like enclosing you. And we don't realize that like that's going on so much around us that we're children that we actually start picking up bricks and adding to that wall. So what Pluto's trying to do right now is try to call our attention to any of that's going on. Your Pluto being in Scorpio, Lucy, like first things first, you are meant to go through many transformations in this lifetime. Oh my gosh, stop it, you guys. See how this is what Spirit does. They got you both here together so I could just talk about this once, all right? So, when you have that Pluto, or even if your sun is in Scorpio, like that's going to be a pretty significant, whoa, if one of you guys said square, which means that your other planet is in another fixed sign. If that other fixed sign is in Leo, okay, let's say you have a Pluto in Scorpio and a sun in Leo, or vice versa, that's going to be particularly powerful. That particular square, by the way, squares, you guys, are tension that's there that we can grow from, right? So it's a lesson that you can learn throughout life. A lot of your deep subconscious scripts that you're acting out, that the universe wants to get you to stop, a lot of those are actually have to do with your health. They can have to do with your health. They can have to do with your happiness. They can have to do with your self-image, but also like ways in which you might subconsciously alter your personality in order to fit into different environments. Okay, so that is probably, am I right? Okay, Lucy, right? So you have, that's some major energy right now. So definitely do like a Google search, like Pluto square sun, and you'll be able to read a lot about that. And then also, this is the last thing I'll say before I answer some questions. What house it's in your chart is also going to have a lot to do with how that plays out. I'm so glad you guys, I'm glad you guys found me here. Okay, I'm going to answer first for Quinn. Quinn. I just moved my whole setup, so let me grab some cards. This is the deck I'm called to for, I'm going to pull a card for Quinn and then I'll get Ashley. This is the Whispers of the Ocean Oracle. You guys, I saw that turtle on the internet and I was like, I need that deck. In the 12th house, stop it. Yeah, so you get to go through like 100 lifetimes in one lifetime. You go through so many transformations, but that's what brings you power. I would guess that you're also very good at transmutation. If you're not familiar with the concept of transmutation, Quinn, it's a powerful tool for magic. Being able to take what there is and then change it into what you want it to be. I'm asking for Quinn right now. Thank you, spirits. And I'm asking for any guides that may be with Quinn at this time to step forward. Because Quinn just kind of wants some guidance is all. Ooh. Absolutely, Lucy. Okay, these cards do not want to stop. All right. You are... Oh, this is so crazy because I actually have three of these here, 3 cards here that... I know you don't want to hear it, Quinn, but this sort of feeling of lost is actually where your guides want you to be. Yeah, because they're motivating you. If you know you're going to get to where you're feeling enough like that, it's almost a good thing when you don't have your next few steps planned out, because that means just try to be open and receptive to where Spirit is trying to point you. And then if you're into numbers, pay attention to these. First one is number 26, says where you need to be. You have Mercury, Moon, conjunct. What? Okay. I know it's not, I don't want to say it wrong. Joseph-like name. I'm going to answer that in a second. Let me get through Quinn's reading. Okay. So acknowledge how you're feeling. Have faith that the universe will take care of a current concern by providing the best possible outcome. And then the gift of neutrality. I did not mean to get 5 cards for you, so I'm going to sum this up as quickly as I can. The fact that you're not overly invested in any one thing right now is actually a good thing for you, Quinn. I think that there's some sort of inner balance, because it says yin and yang are opposites in energy but reside side by side to create the gift of neutrality. And then this one says amble with contentment. Waiting rather than acting is going to be very advantageous. Quinn, I don't know where your Mars is at, but I feel like you have a very strong divine masculine. And there's we all have an inner feminine and masculine, but I feel like yours is kind of wanting to take the wheel right now. And what these cards are saying is, you know, you can sit back and just be receptive right now. Like, you don't always have to be forging forward on a path. You can just go ahead and be ready to receive whatever is the universe has come through for you. I also see, I like this one. This is another 9. Leaping through the air says a plan you've made is on track. If you're waiting for something, get to work and stop putting off ideas or projects. And then this one says, seek assistance from your community. What I really think these cards are pointing to me, this leaping through the air, I think is just saying enjoy where you're at right now. Just go make the connections that you feel drawn to. And I think that an opportunity or a new project is going to present itself to you before you know it. Okay, let me go ahead and go back. I'm going to read this question right here. Okay, so speaking about, so your Pluto is going to be squaring Mars in your natal chart. Okay, that's just significant because Mars is a personal planet. Like Mercury, Venus, and Mars are personal planets, and they're each associated with a transpersonal planet. So Uranus is Mercury evolved. Neptune is Venus evolved, and Pluto is Mars evolved, okay? So think of it as the heart, mind, and the body as they exist on a much grander scale, as they relate to the way that you fit into the world. So a Mars square Pluto can really prompt you to want to change the path that you're on, the direction that you're going to. There are certain projects that are no longer worth your energy that you're going to let fall away because you're going to be feeling yourself like your drive and your passion is going to be taking you in potentially a new direction. All right. Let me go back and I will do two more. I am going to Ashley. I'm going to do Ashley and then I'm going to do Lucy and then I'll probably have to dip out of here. Okay. Ashley, what steps you need to feel better and feel more about yourself? I'm going to get this one out right here. This is the Heal Yourself reading cards, all right? And because the first thing I saw when I read that, now I have too many decks. The first thing I saw when I read that was an image of the self-love card. Okay. I think it's glad that you're asking yourself that. You're probably having conversations, inner conversations about that right now because Venus is retrograde in Mercury. I'm sorry, it's retrograde in Gemini. And Gemini to me represents being able to have a conversation with the other inside of your mind, right? That conversation, okay. Is likely to be focused on your value and your sense of self-worth, okay? And to tell you the truth, what's his name again? I'm sorry. Ashley, I've got guides coming in really, really strong. It's about the relationship between your inner masculine and your inner feminine because I think that there were times when, like in my mind, it doesn't, like gender does not matter, you guys. Gender is like, it's old school. It's old news. Okay. But within us, we have the assertive and then we have the receptive energy, right? So if you think of a plant, the stem grows and the leaf receives, right? So like there's just different functions and that's the way we work. In my mind, our divine masculine is who is in charge of our boundaries and our feminine can definitely, as a receptive energy, can choose not to let somebody in. But I feel like intuitively, I just feel like there's been some conflict in your past where like somebody taught you that your boundaries were not that important because it was more important for you to just kind of let other people do what they felt they needed to, if that makes sense. Okay. I hope so. Because if you get to know, I feel like you're, yeah, I knew that would come out. I feel like your inner feminine and your inner masculine, darling, this is going to be powerful, are almost like not speaking to each other right now. Because I think that your inner feminine is wounded. I think your inner feminine is mad at the masculine because he's let you, like, he has let her down and didn't like always protect her. Okay. Oh, yeah, that's what I was saying, okay? So we got the selling out card. To me, this is exactly what I was saying earlier. Somebody taught you that other people's desires, feelings, intentions, etc. were more important than your own boundaries. And so you were like, okay, fine, I'll just not secure or enforce my boundaries. And that's how you get the selling out, is like you've been selling yourself out, okay? No judgment and no shame. We have to be able to admit that to move forward, okay? So, hole in the soul here. There is one particular moment that you can go back to that really, 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 I think, led to this inner rift, right? Now I want to talk about soul retrieval, and I will tell you about how I did soul retrieval from my near-death experience. I found out about soul retrieval essentially. I was watching another YouTube tarot reader and they brought it up, and it was like the second or third time I'd heard it. So I was like, all right, guys, I got you. Let's do some research on soul retrieval. So I found out a little bit more about it. And essentially, as I was reading, I was like, oh my God, that's so true. Sometimes we go through something so tremendous that a piece of our energy gets left behind. So a piece of my energy was left behind on that day 23 years ago. And I realized that the me that's walking around is not complete today because I needed to go back and get that piece of myself. All right. So if you can pinpoint like one point in time that really, really, really broke your heart, where you really, really, really are almost having a hard time forgiving yourself for letting somebody violate that boundary, that's the moment that I'm suggesting that you go back to in a soul retrieval guided meditation and forgive her for doing the best that she knew how to do. Forgive yourself. Just like, imagine that it's like a friend that you had a falling out with like a long time ago. And you just walk up and you're like, I'm sorry. And she's like, I'm sorry too. Thanks for coming back. And then you just kind of like hug and you come back into your present self united. Last card that came out for you is this tremendous. And oh my God, you guys, this is 3 + 6 is a 9. 2 + 7 is a 9. So help from above. This is definitely one of your guides that is wanting to help heal this rift, at least one of your guides, Ashley, that is wanting to help heal that division between the two, like the inner, the one who's capable of receiving love, and then the other who is capable of like protecting. Those are both entities within you that are just kind of not talking right now. So you can call a family conference, get them together. Once you really start exploring your inner self, and you have a couple guides on board, you're like, whatever, let's have a conference call. And yeah, it's something that I'm very happy to help guide people through as well. Pardon me, as far as personal readings go. And like I said, I promise I will post the link to my Facebook page and probably my YouTube link as well. Lucy. Oh my gosh, yay. I didn't mean not like, yay, you got the chills, but I'm so glad that resonated with you. All right, Lucy, hold on a second. Yeah, okay. Lucy, I said it before, but I'll say it again. Transmutation, alchemy, all right? That's one of the ways, by the way, which your spiritual gifts can show up in your chart. The way I feel about it is, let's say you switch high schools sophomore year, all right? Your freshman year, you took health class. You mastered it. You got an A in it, right? You go to your next high school, they're not going to make you take it again, right? Because you've already mastered that. All you have to do is kind of bring in your transcripts, right? Past life regressions are like that. If you have mastered a skill in your past life, I really feel like it's there for you to like bring into your present life. So, in a past life, Lucy was a powerful alchemist. And alchemy is a type of magic. My First real journey into alchemy was reading the Kybalion. So if you're not familiar with that, it's a way to get to it. It's not the most accessible text in the world. It's a philosophy text. It's like, blah. They talk about metaphysics and all the different dimensions, and it's kind of a lot, but at the same time, you can listen to it for free on YouTube because it is in the public domain. So Hermeticism is what that's about. Hermeticism is an ancient Egyptian Greek philosophy that has to do with, it's mental magic. It's mental magic. That's what it is. This deck right here, the Alchemical Visions Tarot, I'm going to be honest with you. The book that came along with this is almost like my new favorite book on alchemy. What it means to take the situation that's in front of you and transform it into something else. So loosely, if you're still around, the image that is on this deck is meant to speak to your subconscious. Can I just get one card for Lucy, please? Thank you. And one more shuffle, I'll pull that deck. Yeah? Okay. Ooh. All right. Let's talk about this. So Lucy, I'm going to look back. Okay, Lucy. All right. Lucy, here's the thing is I feel like, there's a lot of cards out. I almost feel like you're not always, okay, I'm going to say this. I'm going to start this whole sentence over. I feel like when you get your intuition, Lucy, something makes you shut it down. Okay, so I'm going to show you this Page of Cups and look how incredibly, like, there's so much potential and fertility here. All right, this, by the way, is like I think it's a papaya, but it's representing like the womb chakra. All right, yeah, that's what it is. So, fun fact about past lives. Yeah, it all came together. In my mind, that sacral chakra is where it's the source of our creativity, but it's also the place where we store emotional memories. And in my mind, it's also where we store our past life karma and any like emotional baggage that we've brought in from past life. So, fun fact. Sometimes in our past life, we made vows of celibacy, vows of poverty, vows of silence, vows of obedience, vows of non-practice, okay? So in other words, in a past life, there's this part of you that was like, okay, fine, I'll stop being a psychic. I'll stop being a witch. I'll stop my magic. And there's some, I feel almost like you've internalized that in yourself in this life, right? So as much as I feel it's almost like you begin to explore, like you pick up this cup, which is your emotion or your intuition, right? And you see how it goes up and down, as above, so below. You're very, very, very highly intuitive. But every time you go to pick that up, I almost feel like it's really, really overwhelming. Okay. Also, if you can see how much fertility there is in this picture, the egg, obviously, these carrots represent the roots that grow into the earth, right? And then, of course, 2 empty wombs. Also, they're reminding me that the fish, if you plant fish with certain produce, it helps it to grow. All right. So things that you've got going on in your past life, because this is insanity. You have this 3 of Swords, means it's like a little bit of heartbreak, okay? And we have 3 Native American chiefs holding those swords together. So I almost feel like, yeah, this is hard. Sometimes they bring in feelings from your past lives, all right? So let me know if this is too much, but I'm going to go ahead and put it out there. You lived your past life as a Native American who I believe was oppressed by outside forces. Like, I have to be very real. Like, we are all obviously looking around the world today dealing with the descendant of colonialism, and many of us have past lives where we were a person who was colonized. And so to me, I really do feel like you have some very powerful Native American presence in your spirit, in your squad, if you will. Okay. And then the other things that I have on the table essentially are just this devil card reverse lets me know that it's some sort of, it's a karmic lesson. Like, this just basically says it's coming from a past life, right? It's almost like somebody came to you and made you stop doing what you were doing in that lifetime, and you had to make a promise to stop being a healer, being a magician, being a psychic, and being an intuitive. Okay? And there was a lot of pain that had to do with that. All right? So it's almost like there's an Ace of Swords inverted here, and I'll hold it up for you. Okay? And then there is a King of Swords, which was also inverted. Notice how he is not wearing a crown, but there is a crown on this sword. To me, this is just the lack of knowledge of your birthright. Okay? So that's a thing that I believe very much in, that we all have a birthright. Okay? You earned this power in a past life, and something came in and shut it down. Ooh, yes, yes. I don't know that particular story, but please believe that you have guides that are coming through, and I believe that they want to establish a relationship with you in which you can feel safe. Traveling back to that lifetime to gather your gifts, all right? Also, as an American, y'all have to understand, I hope that this is not too controversial, but I'm just going to share what I've been, like, the understanding that I've come to with my guides. Please understand that there is a sacred compact made between the Native Americans in the indigenous people of this land and the land. So anytime you're practicing any magic in these colonized lands, make sure that you're offering something to the ancestors of the land. That's very, like, really huge boost for your power and your magic. Make sure that you're honoring the ancestors of the land that you are inhabiting as much as possible. So Lucy, Ashley, Quinn, everybody, thank you guys so much for being here. I'm going to go ahead and jump off of here, but I loved being here with you guys. So keep an eye out on the channel, and I think that I just like having a community I can go live with. So I think in the future, I'll try to give a heads up, and then maybe we'll schedule a time that we can all get together and do this again. Okay. Thank you guys. Happy solstice. Happy solar eclipse.